Live from the WMTV studios, your news authority. NBC15 News at 5 starts now.
Now at 5, Americans take to the polls today to cast their votes for who they want to see in office. We'll have a live look into local campaign watch parties around the state.
Plus, we'll take a look into Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump's election night events.
And police are searching for multiple suspects involved in last night's shooting in Janesville that ended with a standoff.
Good Tuesday evening, and thanks for joining us on this election night. I'm Lee Mills.
And I'm John Stofflet. We will have live coverage throughout our newscast, bringing you the latest information on local and national races.
First tonight, polls opened this morning at 7, and there have been reports of long lines throughout the day.
According to election officials, they've seen a record number of people at the city-county building in downtown Madison. And for those who were stuck in the office all day, polling places are preparing for that after-work rush.
NBC15's Alice Kang is in downtown Madison. It's just after 5. Alice, how are the lines looking?
Lee and John, I was just outside the Madison Municipal Building, and there isn't a line yet, but election officials are expecting more and more people as the night goes on. Now, I just checked in with Scott McDonald, the Dane County clerk. He says more than 50% of registered voters have been to the polls, and Lisa Tollefson, the Rock County clerk, says there's been an extremely high turnout, but things have been moving smoothly. Now, we have new information for people in Madison that live in Ward 29. If you live in that area, you will be able to vote until 9 tonight because of a fire alarm that went off at East High School earlier today. Again, if you live in Ward 29 in Madison, you can vote at your polling site, which is East High School, until 9 tonight. And for everyone else, polling locations will be open at 8 tonight, so you have just under 3 hours to get out and vote. Reporting live in downtown Madison, I'm Alice Kang, NBC15 News.
Alice, thanks. Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump have big nights planned to cap off their long campaigns. But of course, only one party will feature the next president. Our Washington team takes us inside tonight's election parties. We start with Washington Bureau Chief Jacqueline Policastro.
Hillary Clinton is going to finish her campaign under the glass ceiling here at the Javits Center in New York City. This space is 185 feet tall. It can fit the Statue of Liberty without her base. Take in the Crystal Palace. The glass ceiling is made of thousands of panels. The stage is shaped like the American flag, topped with an enormous video screen. Media risers are packed full, but we're front and center, working along with hundreds of other journalists from around the world. Security is tight for blocks around the venue. Some Clinton supporters waited in very long lines to get their tickets to tonight's event. The team here tells us they're ready for a win. Covering Hillary Clinton, I'm Jacqueline Policastro. Now let's go to Ted Fioraliso with the Trump campaign.
Jacqueline, it's a much different venue for Donald Trump and his running mate Mike Pence. We're here at the New York Hilton Midtown. It's just a few blocks from Trump Tower, which of course is Trump's home and office building. The campaign is renting out the Grand Ballroom here. It's billed as the biggest in New York City, 24,000 square feet, and can accommodate 3,000 people. I got a sneak peek inside yesterday. A lot of those people are going to be members of the media like myself. The rest of the folks attending are friends and supporters of the campaign, and it's invitation only. Security is tight around here. Only difference is 6th Avenue here is a main thoroughfare, but New Yorkers are used to things like this, and in fact, there's actually an excitement about both campaigns having their election night parties in their city. Reporting from Trump headquarters, I'm Ted Fioraliso.
And back here in Wisconsin, another big race the nation has its eye on is the race for U.S. Senate.
That is a rematch, of course, from 2010. The incumbent Republican Senator Ron Johnson is facing the Democratic former senator that he defeated 6 years ago, Russ Feingold of Middleton.
NBC15's Hannah Flood is in Middleton, where Feingold is expected to watch the results of that race come in tonight. Hannah?
Well, John and Lee, this rematch race has been tight from the very beginning. And the latest Marquette Law School poll released last week shows that Feingold does have a 1-point lead ahead of Senator Ron Johnson, but that's a lead a lot of Democrats are not quite comfortable with. When Johnson and Feingold first faced off back in 2010, it was also a very tight race. Johnson ended up beating Feingold by just over 105,000 votes, but many counties around Wisconsin were filled in red that night, supporting the Republican candidate. Now, the event here in Middleton is set to kick off just after the polls close at 8:01. And of course, supporters will be hoping that history from 2010 does not repeat itself and that Feingold will be able to win back his seat in the U.S. Senate. A Feingold win tonight would not be unprecedented, but the last time a former senator came back to beat the candidate that knocked them out of the Senate in the first place was in 1934. NBC15's Syra Anwar is at Senator Ron Johnson's camp in Oshkosh, where his supporters are hoping that part of history doesn't repeat itself. Syra?
Hannah, thanks. Ron Johnson's campaign party kicks off in just under 2 hours here at the Oshkosh Convention Center. And unlike in Middleton, attendees here tonight are hoping for a repeat of 2010. 6 years ago, Johnson supporters celebrated as he became the first Republican U.S. Senator in Wisconsin since 1992, booting then incumbent Feingold by 105,000 votes, ending his 18-year-long three-term streak, with Johnson going on to build his Senate career as the chairman of the Homeland Security Committee. Now, we won't know if this campaign party transforms into a victory party for a while now, since polls are still open, but I'll keep you updated. Stick with us. We're reporting live in Oshkosh tonight. I'm Syra Anwar, NBC15 News.
Syra, thanks a lot. Well, Speaker of the House Paul Ryan is running for re-election to represent the 1st Congressional District of Wisconsin.
NBC15's Morgan Wolf joins us from his election party right now in Janesville. Morgan?
Hey guys, Paul Ryan is seeking his 10th term in Congress. This is his first re-election, running as Speaker of the House. He faces Ryan Solon, a 39-year-old from Mount Pleasant and former Army officer. Now, both candidates have voted already today, as Paul Ryan has been spending the day with his family, while Ryan Solon has spent the day at work. Now, Paul Ryan is favored to win this election, but Ryan Solon's campaign says that they're still hopeful and looking for that upset. Now, coming up at 6 on NBC15, we'll take a look back at the rocky relationship between Paul Ryan and presidential nominee Donald Trump. For now, live in Janesville, Morgan Wolf, NBC15 News.
After a few clouds and raindrops this morning, nothing but sunshine this afternoon, and that is what we are left with this evening. Of course, the sun quickly going down. We're still expecting clear skies to continue, and that will allow temperatures to cool off pretty quickly. Now down to 52 in Madison, 57 in Janesville. It's 56 in Boscobel, and winds, while coming down, are still up there between about 5 and 15 miles an hour, at times gusting closer to 20 miles an hour, and they are out of a northwesterly direction, meaning some cooler weather will be in the forecast. The re-election poll closing tonight should be into the 40s around 8 o'clock. We'll see those cooling temperatures getting close to that freezing mark tonight. Will we hit it, though? I'll have the answers coming up in just a few minutes. John and Lee.
Brian, thanks. Coming up on NBC 15 News at 5, many will be tuning in, of course, to tonight's election coverage. Professor Richard Haven is in next to talk about what clues we should be looking for early on to see how the night's going to go.
Plus, need a ride to the polls before they close at 8? Ride-sharing companies are offering discounted trips to give you the opportunity to vote. Ride-sharing companies are offering special deals today to get you to the polls to cast your vote. Uber, Lyft, and Zipcar are all offering discounts to those heading to the polls. If you've never used Uber before, entering the code VOTE TODAY will get you $20 off on your trip. Lyft will give you 45% off of your ride to the polls in recognition that we're electing our 45th president. And for those who want to drive themselves to vote but don't have a vehicle, Zipcar is offering free rentals on more than 7,000 cars between 6 p.m. and 10 p.m. Just remember, polls close in our state at 8 p.m.
If you haven't booked your holiday flight yet, you can earn bonus miles with Frontier Airlines. That carrier is offering double or triple miles to customers who make new bookings between November 3rd and November 24th. Eligible customers will get triple miles if they fly with Frontier on Thanksgiving Day, Christmas Day, or New Year's Day, and on all Tuesdays between November 3rd and January 7th. Other days during that time will earn you double miles.
Coming up on NBC 15 News at 5, police are still searching for suspects involved in a shooting that took place in Janesville.
We're going to tell you what sparked that incident next.
And it was another above normal day in terms of temperatures, but some cooler weather moving in could lead to some frost when we're expecting that coming up next.
Professor Haven, can you give us a mic check, count to 10?
Yes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Police say there are suspects still at large after last night's shooting and standoff in Janesville.
NBC15's Sarah Breckbill joins us now to explain why shots were fired in the first place. Sarah?
John and Lee, it all started with a drug deal gone bad. Just around 1:30 yesterday afternoon, police responded to shots fired around the area of Lincoln and Wilson in Janesville. One person was shot. They say 4 individuals then fled from the scene in 2 vehicles. But thanks to the help of one witness, the story doesn't end there.
John Samvik has seen a lot go down on the streets he calls home.
There's a lot of drug dealing stuff goes on down here around the park.
So when he saw a car fly by yesterday afternoon with 2 people jumping out before it even stopped, he knew what to do.
I jumped in my truck and drove down by there and got the license plate number out the car and the address off the house that they went into, and then took it over to the police.
Police say the suspects were fleeing from the scene where shots were fired just moments before.
When I hear that warning over the radio that there's an urgent call coming in and the shots fired, I've become accustomed that it's not followed with Janesville.
Officers from patrol, SWAT, and investigations waited outside the house, leading to an hours-long standoff.
We probably had 40 to 50 officers assigned to this matter last night, and that's not by accident. That's by design.
Around 6 o'clock, a juvenile came out of the house, surrendering to police.
The number of suspects we saw going into the home and what we ultimately found, someone left.
Soon after, police did take one suspect into custody, 20-year-old Nando Ennis. However, they believe there are more suspects at large. A startling thought for some neighbors, like Samvik.
People want to live and be able to walk down the street without getting shot at, you know?
Police say the shooting was the result of a dispute about the quality of the drug. They say it was over hundreds of dollars of marijuana. Police later discovered the victim of the shooting drove himself to the hospital after being shot. He is expected to survive.
This is your Weather Authority forecast.
After just a few raindrops and clouds this morning, a beautiful afternoon, and check out the sunset ongoing downtown Madison right now. You can't beat that on this election day. Current temperature, not half bad either. 52 degrees in Madison. Winds are out of the north and northwest at 9. They are coming down after gusting in excess of 20 miles an hour just a couple of hours ago. Other temperatures include a 50 for Beaver Dam as well as Watertown. It's 48 for you in Camp Douglas, 55 in Lone Rock. Temperatures are starting to cool off pretty quickly, especially off to the north where it's 48 in Wausau, Ashland, Wisconsin, coming in at 47 with clear skies and calming winds. Well, a perfect recipe to see some of those cooler conditions moving into much of the Great Lakes region. That's what we're tracking on Sky Tracker HD. A whole lot of nothing. Clear skies for all of Wisconsin. The nearest clouds are through the Dakotas and what's left of our morning disturbance now pushing through the Ohio River Valley with some scattered showers and storms around the Cincinnati region. Clear skies tonight will lead to some cooler temperatures, looking for overnight lows, lower to middle 30s. I do think some places get down to that freezing mark, and that means we will be dealing with at least some patchy frost come early tomorrow morning, so you may need to bust out that ice scraper, especially in those more rural areas and typical cool spots that we have around southern Wisconsin. High pressure's in control tomorrow afternoon, and not only for your Wednesday. How about Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday? Almost an identical forecast of what we had last week in terms of sunshine, in terms of temperatures. I think just a couple of degrees cooler, but all in all, shaping up to be very nice here as we head towards the weekend. Overnight tonight, 33 degrees, so it looks like officially we will just be above that freezing mark with some patchy frost developing. 57 tomorrow, mainly sunny and on the nice side. 61 Thursday, 50 on Friday, albeit a little bit cooler for the weekend. Still expecting plenty of sunshine into early next week. John and Lee.
All right, Brian, thanks. Just ahead, why is the U.S. Senate race in Wisconsin expected to be a tighter race than the presidential race?
Professor Havens in next with his analysis of why that might be the case. Next. And here's a look at tonight's primetime lineup. Starting at 7, we will have a 3-hour NBC News special, and we will be back for NBC 15 News at 10.
Well, the eyes of the nation will be on all those returns as they come in tonight, including the eyes of Professor Richard Haven, our political analyst, UW-Whitewater communications professor. And we've been waiting for this a long time. And so now my question to you is, as we get here to getting close to some polls starting to close, what should we be watching for early on tonight in this presidential
Well, one of the
race?
things we want to watch for is any sign of the turnout, and the turnout for the Trump supporters or the Clinton supporters. In the case of North Carolina, for example, how strong is the African-American turnout? In the case of Florida, how strong is the Hispanic turnout and the African-American turnout? It's interesting, in Florida already, we have a report that as much as 39% of the turnout is minority. That's up from 33% in 2012. That's a good sign for Secretary Clinton.
Right.
We also want to be looking at particular states. First of all, New Hampshire. Should come in fairly early unless it's really close, and then that will tell us something. But New Hampshire has a much more white population, a small minority population, but they're better educated. So it could go either way. It will tell us something about whether it's going to be a long night or maybe a quicker night.
Yeah.
Then we look down to North Carolina, we look at Ohio, we look at Pennsylvania, all states that are going to play a key role in swinging this election one way or the other. As we go into the central time zone, Florida, because remember, part of Florida is in central.
Yep.
Same with Michigan. Part of Michigan is in central time zone. They'll become key states. And then finally, when we move out west, we'll pay a special attention to Colorado and Nevada.
Right. And Wisconsin had been a swing state really until the last week in this presidential race. And now the attention seems to have moved over to our neighbor, Michigan. So should we be reading something into the fact that Trump he canceled an appearance in Wisconsin Sunday, and Hillary Clinton hasn't been here since April? Should we read anything into that?
Well, I think, one, the Clinton campaign felt pretty good about Wisconsin. It tightened up some, and then you saw a lot of surrogates come in. I think there was a belief in that campaign that a Bernie Sanders could do more good than Hillary Clinton could do, given his popularity in Dane County and other parts of Wisconsin. On the Trump side, it was interesting that he canceled West Allis, but he went to Minneapolis.
Yeah.
And while you might say, well, it's hard to imagine Minnesota as a swing state, it was one he was kind of looking at. But remember, western Wisconsin is a part of that media market.
Oh, sure.
And so in a sense, he was able to talk to two states, and I think that's why they made the switch.
That's a good observation. I know you know that area well. I think we've got a cabin up in that area, and that's in that Minnesota, Minneapolis market. We've got about a minute left, so let's talk about in the Marquette poll. Hillary Clinton had a 4 or 5 point lead roughly, and then just 1 point only for Russ Feingold, who had a big lead prior. What would explain the difference? Why did that race tighten up?
Trump has not been running well in what's called the WOW counties. That's Waukesha, Ozaukee, and Washington. That's an area where Mitt Romney ran very well, and generally Republicans need to do well. Trump has been down there. I suspect that has to do with the fact that Hillary Clinton's running better with women, including suburban women, and Donald Trump is not compared to Mitt Romney. So, I think that might be one of the reasons that they're splitting their vote. Few are voting for Trump, but then they split the vote to vote for the Republican Senate candidate, in this case giving him, Johnson, a better chance. So I think we're seeing that in some ways with split ballots.
Well, some of the polls close at 7 p.m. Eastern, which means 6 o'clock our time, so just a little over a half an hour. So we'll start to learn stuff here very soon.
It's going to be very interesting to see what's coming.
Yeah.
We could have a quick outcome. More likely, I think this is going to go on for a while.
All right, and you'll be here with us, Professor Richard Haven, UW-Whitewater. Thank you. We're back with a final look at the forecast after this.
No excuse not to vote in the weather department. It's just gorgeous out there. You might need a light jacket as you're out and about this evening. As we do have clear skies, temperatures will quickly fall through the 40s down into the 30s. Do think there will be some patchy frost tomorrow, so be aware of that, but back up to 57, 61 on Thursday. Next chance of rain and a small one not until next Tuesday. So yet again, another extended period here with a lot of sunshine and temperatures continuing to run well above normal.
Remember, if you're just getting home, you have until 8 p.m. to cast your ballot.
Right, and of course, if you're in line at 8, they have to allow you to vote. So they can't just, they'll cut the line off for the people who are in line at that point. You'll be able to vote. And again, if you vote at East High School, you've got that extra hour tonight. You can vote until 9 p.m. because of a fire alarm, a judge's order. They extended the voting there for an hour until 9.
And we're getting ready for our 6 o'clock newscast. We will bring you live back to all of those campaign watch parties, and we'll have more expert analysis. We'll see you then.
NBC15